Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. Thank you for joining. We're going to wait a few minutes here to let people roll in, and then we'll kick it off. If you have any questions, we don't have any pre-submitted questions today. Please feel free to put them in the chat, the Q&A, or raise your hand, and we will get to you. Hello to the attendees that have just rolled in. We are just taking a few minutes before we kick off here. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat, in the Q&A, or raise your hand, and we will be sure to get to you once we kick it off.
Hey everyone, super sorry about that. Hopefully we didn't lose anybody. Do we have someone who's up first, Sabs?
Bradley.
All right, go ahead, sir.
All right. So I'm kind of at the end of my first workflow here, and I have a need that the user group that is processing the output of the form that's being submitted and approved and all that, they just want to have a printable output from all the data that's in the form. The form's not terribly pretty to print out. I'm just curious, what are my options to be able to put this data either in a Word document or in a PDF that they could, either right click or get through a form and just print it.
Well, are we looking for do you have anything that is like can grow you've been working on data repeaters, so you have like a variable number of data repeaters?
I have 2 data repeaters, yes.
Okay. Now, and you've seen the view completed form action in the tool already?
I have. Yep.
Okay. But you can't call that as a service because
Right.
it has to be rendered by the client. Like actually gets rendered by the client, not by the back end.
Yeah.
Now you could use like set PDF, form field type steps.
Yeah.
Normally, but if you have a variable like content, which you do here, not just value, but actual structure of the content,
right,
that won't work for that. And you're left with something that is super powerful, but can be tricky. Are you familiar with, have you written HTML or raw HTML, raw CSS before?
Yep.
Okay. I have, let's see, I think I put my HTML table builder in here. Let me see if we have something in the projects section here. Merge HTML tables, converting forms to PDFs for email. What's this? Must have their form in HTML template format or have HTML template that mirrors the form. Let's download this and see how close to what we want this thing is. Ooh. What I'm doing is that we just have our project section here with sample projects. And I'm just downloading one of these here, which is converting forms to PDFs for email. And it's using an HTML to PDF step. So I think they're going to assume there's HTML in as a constant input here. I also have a really slick, I have to figure out where it's at these days. Example lab, really slick HTML table builder flow that can take in just JSON and do some cool mappings to give you whatever. But here we go. Let's see, HTML to PDF. HTML's HTML template. It outputs. Oh, yikes. What's going on here? This is a garbage example. Yikes. All right, well, this example, let me just check if there's something else. I was hoping for more from that. Merge HTML tables. Ah, perfect. This will give us, this is an example. This is the trick here. This one should do what we need. Famous last words. This as well. Okay. Just send a current user. Just see what this does really quickly. Oh, I'm admin. Duh. That's not going to be me. Sample labs. Okay, here is the email. Now this is what it's done is it's built a variable length table for me with count in the left column and an integer value on the right hand side. It's pretty ugly, but let's look at what this does. So the first thing we do is declare a table, declare a string called, we've named it table. And then here we're doing a loop, a static number of loops. And then here's where we really start to do the work. And so you'll see we declare a variable. We're using this in velocity merge step. And in velocity is our most fanciful, if you will, merge step. And what I'm doing is I'm saying, give me the value of table and append a TR row with 2 TD cells in it. And I'm going to specify the static string count. And I'm going to actually create a variable called $count. I specify variables in the text merge with $signs. And you'll see I get an input for table, which takes table and it outputs table. And then I get an input for count, which is passing in the index item of the for loop. And so it'll loop through this step as many times as we want, adding a new table row each time. And then what it's going to do is it's going to insert that into an HTML document. So it's going to loop through this, and then it's going to output a value called table. And you'll see we're actually going to we create an input called myCoolTable that takes table as an input. So that those TR rows are going to be inserted here. And then you'll have like a full valid HTML, which you can then attach to an email. The thing that you would do differently here, though, is find that step we just saw before, which we didn't have any. Yeah, go away. Okay, really? See here, PDF, HTML to PDF. Sorry, I've got some bad module on my local. And then here I can take that HTML and merge it HTML, I think is the output of my in velocity step. Set up some of this HTML stuff, put a name here of test.pdf. And then I'm going to attach that to my document here. So build array, select from flow, PDF. If I run this again, okay, that took a second to run. Back here. So what I get here is I get a PDF with that HTML table in it. So this is in essence how you can use the workflow engine to build up completely custom HTML. And because of the structure of your form, because you can have a variable number of data repeaters,
yeah,
you're going to need to get some output. You'll need to get something. You'll need to invest time in doing something like this if you need to send them something.
Excellent. That's great. Thank you, Bill.
Now, it might be easier for you to just send them an email with links that they could use and I can send you like a really good table builder flow. Now, someone's saying they have an example handy, but it's coming in as anonymous attendee, so I'm not sure which of this that is. But I'd love to see what that might look like. But it might be easier just to figure out how to build the links to the view completed forms and give them the ability to just, maybe you have an email and you can construct a link to the view completed form. It won't be a document, right? But they could download that document. They could print their screen, right? Or use a download, but they can use like a download action on it. Okay. Directly. So you can't give them a document, but you could give them a link to actually view the completed form. We could build a flow to do that, probably, just because if you look at it, like if you look at an assigned form, Let me just create an assignment real quick. Do I have anything with a process folder? Yeah, I do. Where is it at? Employee onboarding tickets. Yeah, here we go. So here's view completed form. And I think one of the actions here is all manage assignment, get view completed form link. So I can build up a link here. And I can call this, and I can get a download action that allow me to download my form now that I've rendered it on the client, right? So you can imagine I have this in an email.
Yeah.
Probably using like a name session as the authentication, as this is assuming I've logged in and have the appropriate permissions. But we could create a name session with the appropriate permissions here. Get at this, and then you could imagine sending an email with a number of links, like you would just use text merge to build up the links and say, please download this. Please use the download link if you need, for your records or whatever. And this should give you the actual filled out thing, because you could spend a significant amount of time in designing this HTML builder logic. Right. Like, I mean, you're actually writing HTML and you're doing inline CSS, right? Or you're writing your own CSS and all sorts of things. There's nothing, that the workflow engine can do this, but it's not giving you any helping hands to make it less burdensome for you. But we do have customers who have whole workflows, and the whole point is to just build up completely custom PDF documents at the conclusion. And these are multi-page, significantly complicated documents. So you can leverage the fact that we can convert HTML to PDF, and then the workflow engine can loop and do all sorts of text merging. So you can build a very comprehensive text, dynamic document creator.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you.
So hopefully either of those options helps. I'd
Yeah,
say from simple, this is a simple idea, but gives you less. And then if you need more complex than that, you'll have to get in there and actually write HTML.
All right, great. Thank you for those options.
Yeah, you bet. Who's next? Who else has got questions? Anybody else got any questions for us today? Hey, can you show how to broadcast logs to AWS? I cannot show that. But I do know that we added new centralized logging in V8. Let's see here. What docs do we have? External logging. They were helpful enough to give us a screenshot. All right. Thanks, doc team. Let's see. There's a setting somewhere that controls this. See if I can ask someone who knows how to do this to help me. Just a minute here. Here we go. AWS CloudWatch logging in Azure Logs integration. Okay. Bunch of stuff about AWS. What do we need to do for our app to get it to log out in this way? Okay, so this is if we're using a container. Looks like in logging, AWS, let's just in the system settings, logging settings, and opening up CloudWatch. Yeah, logging settings. File system. And open AWS CloudWatch. I'm gonna get CloudWatch to show. Is it, I'm not, someone's asking questions as an anonymous attendee, so I don't know who to answer to. Is it coming up? Is what coming up? I'm sorry. The answer to your question? Best if you could use the raise hand feature so we could actually talk. Oh, okay. I mean, all I know, I have not gotten this done yet, but you can, looks like you can log to CloudWatch or Azure Log Analytics, and you're gonna, in these docs are how to do it. Though, as you're asking this, I need to learn how to do it. Okay. And okay, Riley, you got another question? If you're taught, it looks like you came off mute, but I can't hear any audio if you're speaking.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome. All right. So on the email that a user gets when they've been assigned a task, I've been able to figure out how to customize the text and the look of that email.
Yeah.
But it looks like there's two links that kind of default in that email. I don't want to have both those links on there. I want to get rid of one of them, and I don't know where to configure that.
To actually change the links, you're going to have to avoid the use of the email. You'll have to do a custom email.
Okay.
You know, and there's a thing called a start flow on a form. Have you seen that yet?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's here. So let's create a really quick assign form. Oh, Lord. So here is my assigned form. Right, and then if I look under on step run, there's a step start type flow. And here I would set this to private, and this gives me a private flow I can run. And then in here, I can put a send email step that is configured as however I want, like whatever I need. And this, if we look at Data Explorer, this has, it's not showing it, but if I, let me just see, like this should have, where's the assignment? Oh, did I not make this assigned form step yet? Sorry. I did not. Let me make this an assigned form. Okay. And then if I look at on step run, I should now have the assignment. So I get the assignment data. So I can build up the links to the assignment and do whatever I want in this email. And this flow runs when the step is hit. So you'd build up your custom flow, and then you'd go to email and you'd say email notification policy is none, so that you don't send out 2 emails.
Okay.
So here you're probably using default right now.
Yeah.
And it's true, you can do, it basically lets you just insert extra text.
Right.
It doesn't let you have full control over, oops, sorry, I'm gonna say custom. It doesn't let you have full control over the email body.
All right.
That's another example where you'd have to do a little bit of work to get away from those.
Yeah.
I think we're working on, we've gotten some requests in to change, at least make the language editable. People hated some of the language. I wonder if we actually got that.
And I've been able to configure everything except those 2 links. I can set set the text, I can set the look and feel. I've got rid of all the decisions branding. I just can't change those 2 links.
Yeah, they're actually like, statically, they're just actual like static strings in the code somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, so you can with that on step flow, which is like a special flow behavior for form steps. And you would just disable the default, disable the normal assignment email and build a custom one. You just have to build up your links yourself.
Right. Awesome. Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Question, is there an FR for data repeaters to move them up and down? We do have a feature request to allow you to rearrange data repeaters, but that is not currently on the road. We don't have a release date for the roadmap for that that particular enhancement yet. Okay, what other questions do we have today? Oh. Looks like we had a new someone else recently join. Yeah, let us know if you have any questions. It looks like we've gotten through the other questions that we had from the rest of the audience. So if you just joined and you have a question, you can type it out in chat, ask in the Q&A, or just use the raise hand feature and we'll unmute you and you can ask your question. Can we expose a simple flow feature to the end user without making them a designer? No. The simple flow simple flows does require that the user be a designer user. There's no difference there between a simple flow and a regular flow. Okay. Ram's got a question here. Is there a REST call we can use for import and export functionality? Yes, technically you can. Have to probably look at the particular, and it's probably not just a function. You probably have to look at a flow. But if you were to search for import wizard in your environment, you should see the import wizard flow. Now there's a bunch in this flow, but the main things here are the steps. Start import session, add files to import session, and finish import. There's a couple steps here. These steps should be under system advanced import export. It might change based on the version you're on, where they're actually located at. Oops, that's the one I wanted to click. System advanced import export. These are all of the import export steps. So there are a lot of steps. I think on the forum, we did this ages ago. That's not what I wanted to show. Let me search here. Oh, I think search import. This is, yeah, importing projects using API calls here. I'm going to give you a link here. This is an example flow that I'm going to put this in the chat here. This is a flow. You can download this decision support example that should let you pass in a file. I think it's been a while since I've looked at this. Let me try to import this really quick and we can take a peek at it. Yeah, we did let you, Ram, so we let you speak now. If you want to come off mute, you can ask any questions you want. We have to turn off your can't talk at all setting first.
Oh, okay. Thank you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now.
Okay, yeah. So this is basically, the context for this question is to like import an entire zip project with dependencies. And if I can give the zip file as the payload for the REST call.
Yeah, this is what I would start with this flow, though. I wouldn't say I guarantee it's going to handle everything for you, but this is what we did here ages ago is strip out all of the form-based work or all the user interface from our import wizard flow, as well as had a little subflow here for handling some of these import issues with some notes. So I put the link to this. It's in our forum in the chat. I would start with this and see, because you can it's a flow. You can get it, you can get the post definition here to actually call this as a post. And then you can try playing around with importing or calling this flow as a post call.
Okay. Is there a way I can make sure I don't overwrite an existing functional project when using this by mistake? Like if I want to import it into my brand new folder or something, there should be an option for.
That doesn't exist for us, if I understand your question correctly.
Yeah, because I want to test this import export using API, right? And there's a functional project from which I exported the zip file already, and it's ready for import.
Okay. And
then when I import, I don't want to mess up the existing project.
Sure. Yeah. There's no virtual import function. Now, what you could do is you could just download like an app store project, maybe. If you wanted to test on something that doesn't matter if you override. So like any of these App Store applications, you could download and then try importing and running and doing your things. But
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, I see that. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think this might be a good option just for a trial and error scenario. Okay, let me
yeah,
see.
that's what I would recommend. Like get this flow, see how it works. It does automate. Oh man, where am I at? Oh, I guess I have to be here. It will automate importing. It can. So we're assuming certain things for you, like you know, like what you want to do with like import resolution issues. There's a lot of complexity here. But this flow, we built this ages ago when someone asked us for an example of this. So
Okay, great, great. So when a sometimes you know how the projects have like dependencies, right?
mhm.
One project may depend on another project. Um, and when I export something with dependencies and then I import it back, will I be overwriting the dependent project folders also?
Only if they're in the same project. So you can't import two projects at the same time. Projects can only be imported individually. So if the dependencies are part of another project, no, but they wouldn't be part of what you're importing at all. But like everything, like this is, let's assume I export a project from my dev server. That zip
Mhm.
file is everything, not just the changes. It's the whole thing. So when you import that, either regularly or through this flow, it imports everything. What you can get though are what we call import resolutions, like where like, hey, you've edited this more recently than the export. Do you want to keep the local version or override? Right, you'll get the, or like it's a newer, you're importing from a newer version to an older version, or there's a missing dependency, or we can't find the parent folder of an object and we don't know where to put it. There's these just these normal import resolution issues, and so
Okay,
there's
so
yeah.
when it says the local version versus override, the
Mhm.
local version actually means what is existing right now in decisions, right? Prior to
On that
accepting the.
server. Exactly right. Yep.
Okay, and the override is what's coming in from the import zip file.
Yep. And you have to specify which, right?
Right. Okay, yeah,
Eh,
because I did run into that message box when I was trying this like manually a while ago, and then I had picked the local, because it made sense to assume that that's the local that's on the server already.
mhm.
Okay, great. So there's no problem with the, okay, won't affect any other like neighboring projects, even if those projects are dependent on the import zip file. Is that the conclusion? And
I
I
mean,
do
I can't say with absolute certainty. Like, here's an
okay.
example. I have two projects, right?
Uh-huh.
Project A depends on project, or project B depends on project A. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, technically, I'm deploying project A independently of project B. So the actual, my ability to override items in project B doesn't exist. Um, I can't override anything, right? But let's assume one of the reasons I'm dependent on project B depends on project A is
Mhm.
because of a data structure, right? So I've actually made a material change to my data type. I have removed a property or renamed a property that
Mhm.
project B was using. So I haven't actually overridden anything in project B, but there's a breaking change in project A. So now project B is in a bad state, but not because of an override of any of its contents, but because of the dependency in project A that it needs has been changed in some specific way. So that's a place where the dependency relationship for projects can lead to issues, but those issues don't stem from me like overriding the actual contents of project B. Does that make
R-
sense?
It does for the scenario that you explained. I just wanted to confirm that when exporting project A, if we had put a check mark on the with dependencies section and then gotten a zip file, and then we're moving it back in, like importing again, since B is dependent on A,
hmm
does it impact like the flows of project B in any way?
Can you ask that question one more time? I'm sorry.
So project B is dependent on project A, right? So
Mhm.
project B is a dependency for project A. And then when exporting project A, I'm putting a
Mhm.
check mark on the with dependencies section.
Correct.
And then I got the zip file.
Correct.
I don't
see.
know what's in the zip file because
Got
I
it.
can't really see it, right? And then
Got it.
I'm importing it. And then at that point, I want to make sure, will it impact the flows on the dependent project or not?
I see. So the way to think about this is when you click add dependencies, what decisions does is it looks for everything that could be used by anything in your project that is not part of a project already. In our world, everything can only be attached to a single project. And as soon as it is part of a project, all the dependency checking behaviors exclude it as a result from any of the scanning that they're doing, right? So when you say add dependencies for project A, when you're exporting, it's going to ask the dev server, hey, is there anything that's not currently part of this project or any other project that this project that some part of this project uses? And if the answer is yes, it'll give you a list of those things. And then you can say include these or don't include these in this export, which means attach to the project and then run the export so that the export service gives you the whole project as one big deliverable. But because nothing about the export allows you to grab contents from other projects at all. Once they're part of a project, you have to manually disassociate them to get them to show up in the dependency browser or check dependencies action.
So even if I specify yes to the question that it asks just prior to the export, when it says, do you want to pick these items that are not part of this project, the actual zip file will not contain anything from the other projects. Is that right?
By definition, it cannot.
It cannot. Okay. So it's probably, what it means by dependent is probably importing some sort of is link a right word for this, like a pointer or something to the other project in the zip file, but not the content itself from the other one. And then when you import it, it'll expect the other project to be there.
That's correct. Yeah. If you actually open up a deck object file, which is what we export our individual items as, you'd see like a dependency XML. Like, let me see if I could open one up really quick. Example, element registration. Menu. Here we go. Oh, it's not the most wonderful view, but here is a deck object file. This is a thing. This is like a form step, and you'll see this section right here. This doesn't have anything, but when you drag a form into a flow or use a rule or use a flow in a flow, we just create this. We manage a dependency relationship, which are references, not the actual things themselves, and it'll see it listed here. So it might tell you that you're missing a dependency, and that dependency is from another project. And so you have to figure out why your projects are interdependent and if that's correct or not.
Okay, great. Okay, my concern was, I didn't want to affect any other project when I import it, especially if the API call works. Right. Okay. So I think I'll give that a shot. And then the export, does it also get out the the data folder, if there's a data folder on the project that has the actual, like, entities or case entities or something like that.
There's times where it can get screwed up and grab things, but no, it should be the configuration objects only. But there's certain types of things that can get picked up depending on the design. If you're using like entities as like holders of data, not the actual transactional data, it can, but like process folders and cases and assignments, the comments, all the transactional stuff that gets excluded from import and export. It is just the diagram or the definition of the process itself.
Okay, I got you. All right, cool. Thank you. Thank you, Will. I'm gonna go take what I learned today and try to put it to practice and see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to do like a more thorough walkthrough here, just reach out to your customer success manager. I think it is Tony Kelly. We can send you his email. Like if you want to if you want to walk through this in more detail, we're happy to facilitate a call. There's a lot to talk about here probably, but I would start with that flow and then see, where you can get.
Okay, great. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so that's done. Yeah, okay. If the intention is to use automate deployment, it won't work because of potential conflicts. Yes, correct. And in fact, in that simple flow, what we do is we look at a issue resolution here. You have to actually specify how you want to handle particular issues, otherwise it will fail. You have to determine that for yourself. Like, do I always override, or do I always move to a certain folder, or do I do X or do I do Y? Right. And then another question, what is the best way to automate deployment of post to flow run as thing? Okay, that's an interesting question. Let me create a post to flow. Advanced. Is that where they're at these days? Here's post to flow handler. And in the properties, I can say probably, so probably the question, and again, I don't know these are questions from me as anonymous attendee, so I'm not sure who to direct the answers to this but if we specify the flow as an account, then that account will be different environment to environment for sure. And you would have to remap the account after import every time. And there's really no way around that because you can't move accounts between environments. But you can use a named session in place of the account, and a named session can be moved between. So the named session, is a type of like authentication option we have under security. And you can create a named session, and here you can attach that to an account ID. Which means you can have like almost like an abstraction layer between the actual account and the post to flow, so that you can not ever need to make a change to the flow after you promote it. So I would say use a named session instead of an account. You can export the named session to have the same named session between dev and prod, but the named session binds to a different account on dev and prod. Yeah, correct. But it's okay that you're not going to export the named session every time. You're going to export the named session once, so that you have that named session ID is the same between dev and prod. At that point, it's no longer getting promoted, and it's fine that the accounts are different on dev and on production. Your flow will now reference the named session, which will exist. Yeah, you'd have a single one-time manual deployment here, correct. Otherwise, like if you attach the named session to the project and deployed it every time, then you would be in the same state, just at a different level. You would be updating the named session and not the run as value, right? But once you have it in place, it would be like a single time promotion. You shouldn't need to do it over again. Hopefully that makes sense. Wow, we got a lot of great questions today. This might be my favorite lunch and learn yet. Any other questions from anybody? Okay. All right. If that's everything for today, we'll go ahead and call it an afternoon. Appreciate the questions from everyone today. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, and apologies for running a little bit late today. So thanks everybody. Have a great afternoon and talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you.